All right, let's dive right into this. Have you ever wondered how a 150-year-old financial titan actually prepares for the future? Well, today we are looking at an absolutely fascinating roadmap. It was prepared by the AI research firm Disruptivity, specifically for Goldman Sachs. And here is the truly shocking reality we need to talk about. To survive the AI age, Goldman is completely reinventing itself. I mean, they are abruptly abandoning the massive consumer banking dream they spent years building. Why? To pivot toward becoming a fully autonomous financial operating system. It's a huge, high-stakes gamble, and we're going to break down exactly how they plan to pull the whole thing off. To really understand this massive strategic shift, we're going to use Disruptivity's management consulting framework. First up, the Goldman Sachs pivot. Then we'll look at legacy under pressure. Third is the AI blueprint. Fourth, autonomous orchestration. And finally, we'll cover what Disruptivity means for your own business. Okay, let's kick things off with part one, the Goldman Sachs pivot. This is all about a strategic retreat. So, if you've been following finance lately, you definitely noticed Goldman pushing hard into everyday consumer life, right? Think the Apple Card or their Marcus lending brand. But now, they are suddenly retreating from that entire mass market ambition. You might be wondering why. Well, Disruptivity lays it out in this remarkably bold new mission. Goldman's goal is to establish the institutional financial orchestration OS. Basically, they are doubling down on elite institutional complexity. They don't want to be the place where you keep your checking account. No way. Their goal is to become the absolute primary digital infrastructure that global corporations and ultra-wealthy investors use to execute critical strategies. And this is a game changer for their balance sheet. By getting out of low-margin consumer lending, Goldman is freeing up critical Tier 1 capital. We are talking about reallocating billions, literally billions of dollars, away from managing average consumer credit card limits and instead deploying all that capital against way higher return on equity institutional opportunities. It's a smart defensive move that actually sets up a massive offensive push behind the scenes. Moving right along to part two, legacy models under pressure. Let's look at the structural threats. You have to ask, why make such a drastic shift right now? Well, because even Wall Street royalty isn't immune to disruption. They are facing some massive structural pressures. First off, there's intense margin compression in traditional advisory roles because everything is just moving faster. Second, we're seeing an exponential explosion of unstructured financial data. I mean, humans simply cannot process it fast enough anymore. And third, vicious competition. Not just from traditional banks, but from mega alternative asset managers like Blackstone and Apollo. The old ways of doing things are just rapidly becoming financially unsustainable. Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast in operating models. Historically, Goldman's entire competitive moat was built on this human capital-intensive apprenticeship model. It basically relied on the sheer intellectual brute force and, those famously grueling 100-hour work weeks of thousands of junior analysts just grinding around the clock. But the new model? It has to be an AI-augmented platform engine. You literally cannot throw enough human hours at today's data volume to stay competitive. It just doesn't scale. That brings us perfectly to part three, the AI blueprint, a 3-year optimization program. To tackle these intense pressures, Goldman Sachs kicked off a strict 3-year AI optimization program starting in 2024. The absolute core of this blueprint is what's called hybrid intelligence. And this is crucial. The idea is not to just fire all the bankers. Instead, proprietary agentic AI takes over all the routine stuff: financial modeling, due diligence, basic deal screening. What this does is liberate the human capital, the highly paid experts, allowing them to focus entirely on complex deal structuring, bespoke negotiations, and managing relationships. It's all about AI augmenting the elite advisory roles rather than completely replacing them. And we can clearly see the real tactical steps they're taking to build this out. Step 1 is a massive $150 million joint venture with Anthropic. Step 2 involves integrating technology from BLP Digital. And Step 3 is the actual real-world outcome: autonomous pitch book production and automated M&A screening. By handing off these high-friction, super time-consuming tasks to automated agents, Goldman successfully defends its profit margins from getting eroded by commoditized financial modeling. And get this, they are applying this intelligence to massive, massive new markets. Just look at this number, $750 billion. That is the staggering amount Goldman has committed to deploying by 2030 for climate transition and sustainable finance. But here's the catch. As green finance becomes more commoditized, Goldman can't just sell based on their shiny brand name anymore. They have to pivot. They have to sell complex AI-driven, data-backed impact analytics to these hard-to-abate industrial sectors. This is exactly where high-level advisory meets planetary-scale data. Let's jump into part 4, autonomous financial orchestration. This is the ultimate vision. Okay, this is where things get truly futuristic. We're talking about the complete merger of banking infrastructure and asset management software. The Disruptivity roadmap highlights these incredible concepts: SME financial twins and equipment-as-a-service marketplaces. Just imagine they're a mid-sized manufacturer. You want the absolute latest industrial robots, but you can't afford the massive upfront capital. Goldman's future platform aims to solve this entirely by creating a digital financial twin of those physical machines. So, how do these financial twins actually work in the real world? It's pretty brilliant. Industrial IoT sensors on the physical machine transmit real-time data, stuff like usage, wear and tear, daily output, straight to a secure cloud. AI models then instantly crunch that data to calculate the machine's current value and risk profile. This lets the bank package that risk and sell it to investors. Meanwhile, the manufacturer, they just get to pay for the machine per use. Revenue completely shifts from a one-time huge capital expenditure into a continuous data-verified operating expense. It's a total win-win. But it definitely doesn't stop at industrial machines. This same logic scales all the way up to what Disruptivity calls the smart account, or autonomous financial operating system. For tech-forward businesses, the traditional bank account completely transforms. It's no longer just a static ledger where your money sits and does nothing. It becomes a dynamic platform that actively optimizes your value in real time. We're talking autonomous AI agents monitoring your cash flow and assets 24/7. If a physical asset you own is just sitting idle, the AI might autonomously rent it out, or maybe switch your insurance to a parked rate to save you cash, all without you having to lift a finger. To really wrap our heads around this trajectory, Disruptivity uses a fantastic analogy. Think of it like the evolution of the self-driving car. Traditional banking today is basically lane assist. It just beeps at you when your balance is low. The next phase steps up to cruise control, where you have rules-based automation paying your bills. But Goldman is aiming for full autonomy. This is where AI agents act as proactive financial fiduciaries, dynamically generating highly customized solutions on the fly, with zero human intervention required. Finally, let's wrap up with part 5, Disruptivity for your business. How to apply the edge. So the crucial point is, what does all this actually mean for you? While the intelligence and strategic clarity we just walked through was generated by Disruptivity specifically as a roadmap for Goldman Sachs, but here's the secret. This level of insight isn't just locked away for Wall Street. Disruptivity's core edge, which is management consulting as a service backed by incredibly powerful real-world AI simulations, can be directly applied to help any business owner. Whether you are in manufacturing, retail, tech, you name it, your legacy operating models are facing the exact same structural data pressures. Disruptivity provides the exact roadmap planning and market simulations you need to future-proof your own business against this massive wave of disruption. Because look, as the AI megacycle accelerates, the gap between traditional, slow-moving operators and these new autonomous platforms is only going to widen. Goldman Sachs saw the writing on the wall, and they acted decisively. So I want to leave you with this final thought. How will your operating model survive the AI megacycle? If you aren't absolutely sure of the answer right now, it might be time to map out your own autonomous future. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.